Hi everyone, I'm Enrico from Bacalhau project, and I'm going to be talking about pipelines. Quick shout outs to my Bacalhau team, Winder AI and Polyphene for their help in scoping out this work. So, here's Alice, our computational scientist slash data scientist that loves Bacalhau, and she loves coffee too. Coffee is not a Web3 project, it's actual coffee. We'll see in a minute how these two things come along. Her daily work is roughly using Bacalhau to write a job spec and submit that to the network. And wait for results to return, check them, and get result CADs. Very often, as we mentioned earlier, you really want to then pass this CAD along to the next job and further process that. And we see more and more the need to automate this process, because essentially, if your job returns in a few seconds, that's fine. But I argue that if it takes a few minutes, such as like brewing coffee time, to have your CAD back, you're gonna have a headache, or we wanna address that. So we can do that with pipelines. So what that is essentially, you can construct multi-step workloads, as I said. Probably have also more complex, DAGs to fan in, fan out, and so on. Maybe you want to schedule runs. Hopefully have data lineage and support caching and so on. We see, in the past months, we've seen users asking for that, and in the last 24 hours, I've heard more and more people talking about that. And essentially, but we are just one step away. So if you can containerize your job, your workload, then you'll be able to do that in Bacalhau. So real life is complex. You want to run complex workloads that requires pipelines or DAGs that may look like this. You don't want to go through this DAG manually and pass CADs along. No. And well, we like DAGs. So there we go. Well, of course, there are a number of well-known pipeline orchestrators out there. We are gonna be talking about Airflow. And why Airflow? Airflow has a Python SDK. So it's really simple to write a DAG with that syntax. It is extensible via operators, and I'll show them about these. And more importantly, they also have a very, it's a very stable product. They have a vibrant community. It's all great. So essentially, as I said, can you do WASM? Can you WASMerize your job or containerize it? Let's see how it looks like. Well, so we have today a Airflow operators for Bacalhau. It's out there on GitHub. It's a prototype. It works. Still rough edges, but let's see what it can achieve in just a few lines of code. Now, I've taken this Lisbon tram image, and I'm gonna pass that through a WASM seam carving compression step, exactly what Simon just showed you, and then pass that along to a Docker container that runs the YOLO, a deep learning object detector that will just try to detect objects on the image. And I'm going to be brave enough to run these live as well. But let's see how it looks like. So this is this is my DAG in Python. Essentially, what you have here is I've created a number of operators, Bacalhau operators that resemble the WASM run, the Docker run, and the get operators. And once you import those, you can start building your DAG. You give it a name within a Python context, and then you define your tasks. So first task is WASM. You gotta give it an ID, and this points to the Rust WASM binary that was previously compiled. And as you can see, if you're familiar with the Bacalhau CLI, these are essentially just the normal flags you want to use. Here's the pin CID of the input of the tram image. Next, we have the object detection, the Docker object detection running YOLO. This is just a public container. Here we see two things. So it's running this detect script using weights that are being pulled from a CID and mounted on this dataset folder. And then, and here's some sort of Airflow flavor to pass basically the output CID of the WASM task to the object detection step. This happens through this template syntax that essentially points to the WASM, to the previous step, and looks for a CID. On the side, I'm also going to run a couple of get commands to download results locally. So now I'm going to trigger the DAG while I'm speaking. So the objects above just represent single tags. Let's connect them together. In Airflow, you use this type of syntax. So you essentially specify I want WASM first, then object detection, but also want to get the results of the WASM to local file system, and the same goes with the object detection. Now, Airflow has a very sweet, web UI, and which lists imported DAGs. By the way, if you check out the repo, you'll see more examples, DAG examples. And let's take a look at the image processing one. So on this panel, you see essentially, so the vertical bar represents the total runtime, and here we see, let me refresh this. Oh wow, it terminated very quickly. So WASM, you see the state of each step essentially, and there's also a visual representation of the DAG. Now, if this was a much longer running DAG, you would actually see the color coding indicating what step is running and at what stage is. And let's see if it actually downloaded. The artifacts on my local disk. Wait, I'll have to use these. Yeah, so so we can see intermediate results, sim carving, running. Thank you. Shrunk image, And next step, we'll see YOLO in action. And yeah. Yeah, so this was these operators are available, so you can actually use it today. Now, if you're running a cloud platform and are looking into implementing pipelines, please talk to me, talk to us, or if you have DAGs that you would like to run on Bacalhau and need support for that, just reach out. Yeah, that was it from me.
Simple question, but how to find the repo to test it?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll just go back. So you can just scan this QR code. There's another question right there.
Of course, this is great. Comment from my side is that in the end, I think we need something more complex and something dedicated to decentralized computation. I think we need a global optimizer that takes the pipeline definition as an input and then plans the whole thing. And of course, the Apache cannot do that. Maybe if we tweak their code. I would say that each step in the pipeline could be executed by a different platform, because for each step there might be another requirements regarding the security, performance, of course data locality, but it is like for all of the platforms. For example, some of the platforms could give you dedicated hardware for ZK proofs or quantum computing. This is near future. So I would see some decentralized computation dedicated engine that takes the definition, and each step is to be executed possibly on different platform. But that's a complex beast, because even one step is a complex, and then to handle her pipeline. And I would be happy to help with that, of course.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Yeah. So I totally agree. I think that, candidly, as a group, we're going to need to support all of the cases. I think, exactly to your point, I think there's highly likely that people are going to have an orchestration system in place. That is a common scenario. And yet, during it, they will want to call out either a component or many components to Bacalhau. I think there will be the case, certainly, where someone wants to execute the entire thing in Bacalhau and be handed a pipeline definition. And then, exactly to your point, I think there is absolutely the case where someone will want to execute components across many decentralized networks. No question about it. And I think it's going to be up to us to figure out how to solve all of those as elegantly as possible.